What's up, you guys? So, I went to go and get some. Do you know what this is? I went to go and grab some Bolton and Drovers today, and I figured why not make a video about the different culture shocks I've experienced since moving from South Africa to the US. So let's get started. Okay, so wrote down a whole list of different things, and I'm just gonna read from it. So if you see me look down, you know why. So let's start with how many different food or flavor items there is from one thing. For example, there's like, I swear, like 70 different cereals that you can choose from. And with the different cereals, so let's say there's a cereal here called Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You can get Cinnamon Toast Crunch and almost everything. You can get it in popcorn, you can get it in bacon flavor. Like the list just goes on, and it's like with different type of things too. And since like I left South Africa about 6 years ago, and I feel like we didn't have like so many different like flavors, you know. So for example, we can go to the movie theater and you can pick soda, and let's say there's Coke, but you can get like cherry Coke, vanilla Coke, like I think there's like 6 different Cokes that you can choose from, which I found really crazy when I moved here. And then the calorie counts on everything. It doesn't matter if you go to McDonald's or you just go to a grocery store to buy a few items, there's always the calorie counts on the back of the product. And back home, you don't see that shit. So I found that really interesting when I moved here. And I definitely had to adapt because if you actually count the amount of calories you eat, you'll probably stop eating. And then sales tax on items. So in South Africa, if you buy an item at Pick and Pay, Checkers, wherever, and you check out, if it said $5.99 when you went to go and pick the product, that's how much you pay. But here in the US, they don't include the sales tax. So you might be thinking you're paying $5.99, but you are actually maybe paying $6.10. And so that adds up on every item. So you actually may be paying like, depending on the total amount, of course, but you can pay like $40, $50 more than what you anticipated to pay just because they don't include the sales tax. And then you have to tip everywhere. If you go grab coffee, not sitting down, you know, and grabbing like drinking coffee with a friend, whatever. No. If you just go and get takeout coffee, they ask you for a tip. If you go get your lashes done, which lashes I understand, you have to give them a tip. Literally everywhere you go, you have to give a tip. Like back home, tips are not like here, of course, it's not mandatory to give a tip, but I've had instances when I was an au pair where I didn't have a lot of money. And so if I have to go and buy something and I didn't give a tip, like you can see that the people are really upset about it. So I found that really interesting because one of my friends went back home, I would say about 2 months ago, and she said still not like that anymore back home. Like you don't have to give a tip all the time. But here in the US, it's definitely giving a tip almost at everywhere you go. So I found that really interesting. And then of course the portion sizes of food. I don't know about you guys, but my parents taught me you better eat everything on your plate. Like you're not leaving food. If you put too much in your plate, that's your fault. You have to finish your food. Here, people, the portions are so big, like huge. Like I'm still doing it sometimes, but like when I just moved here, I was still so in the habit of finishing my food that I would even, doesn't matter how big the portion is, I would try to eat that all of that food because I don't like wasting food. And I think that is something too that I've seen here, that people here in the US don't take out their food to go or eat leftovers. That's not something I guess they like to do. And this is just my experience of the people that I've met, that I've been around. I am the only one, let's say we went to like somewhere to go and eat for lunch, I'm the only one that takes my food to go if I didn't finish, and which I found really interesting. And then this is something I've been trying to find for the past 6 years that I've lived here in the US, and it's good sour candy. It says sour and it has these like expressions and emojis on the packet about how sour the candy is. It's not true. It's so sweet. Like there is this candy called Sour Patch Kids, and it's at least there's not even a little bit of a taste of sourness. And that's something I miss. I miss good sour candy. You know, like the candy that would literally burn your mouth if you eat too much of it because it's so sour. When I had my friend go over back home, I told her, girl, you better get get me some sour candy, because that's one thing America is sucking on, is some good sour candy. And then some of the words when I moved here. The first one is, of course, robot. It's a traffic light. That is something I found really hard to like after, I would say, a few months, I got into the habit to say traffic light. That was one word. Oh, turn out the robot. And people were like, what the hell are you talking about? When I don't like pickles on my burgers. And so when I have to go to McDonald's, I will always tell them no gherkins. And they would be like, what did you say? I never understood why they didn't understand what I was saying until my host family told me, like, it's pickles, it's not gherkins. Like, they don't really understand what gherkins is. I would say, can I have a serviette? And they would be like, what the hell is that? So it's a napkin, people. It's a napkin. I'm not saying serviette anymore. It's just a napkin. And then one of the last words that I don't feel like a lot of people had issues with me saying this, but I do feel like some people gave me like a weird look. And it's if I say pleasure, like you're welcome. It's not pleasure, it's you're welcome. And then let's say driving on the other side of the road. So I came over when I was 18 and I didn't have my driver's license for that long. So honestly, it wasn't that bad for me, but it was still something to adapt to and realize that I have to drive on the other side. So that was definitely interesting and something you kind of like, you have to say, stay right, stay right, stay right, just to remember. That's kind of like how I remembered most of the time if I wasn't sure if I like which side I had to go to. And then this is a pet peeve of mine till this day, and it's getting your own fucking gas. I'm sorry for my words. It makes me even angry just thinking about it. I would literally drive until I just have like 20 miles left in my tank because I hate putting gas in. I love back home that you have people that just come to you, they put your gas in, and that's it. Now, here in the US, you have to put on your own gas. In the beginning, I didn't know how to put my own gas in because it's not like, oh, you just press whatever. By the way, I didn't even know what gas I had to put in, but it's not like you just press a button. Now, with most of the pumps, it is. But when I started, I lived in New York, and I will see if I can find a picture. But basically, there's like this lever where the nozzle is on that you have to lift up before the gas comes out. And I had no clue about it. I was standing at the gas pump for like 30 minutes trying to figure out why there was no gas coming out of the pump. And I wait until this guy stops right next to me, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, I'm new to all of this. How do you pump gas? That guy probably thought I was a freaking idiot. But yeah, still hate it to this day. I wish they did that. Like some other person could like pump my gas for me. Now at least I have my husband that helps me out, but still hate it. And then if you also, with the gas, if you want only a certain amount of gas and you don't want to make it full, you have to go inside and tell them how much, the amount of gas that you want for the pump. And then they would kind of like put a limit on it. Otherwise, you have to, I guess, fill it up or kind of just wait until you see the number and then just stop it. But that is also kind of annoying. And then you can turn at a red light. Sometimes they say no, turn on red, but most of the time, if it's clear on both sides, like you can turn on red, which is, I kind of like it. Like it was definitely something to adapt to, but now that I do it, I absolutely love it. And then this and this are both called trucks, which blows my mind because I'm always just like, how do you even know about what truck I'm referring to? Because both of these are literally like named the exact same thing, even though one is just like a bakkie and then one is like an 18-wheeler. Like that's a lorry. But for some reason, both of them are trucks here in the US. Here is also a big thing that I had to adjust to. I did this a lot, especially when I came here, and it was converting your dollars to rand. So you would go to a store, you want to buy something, and you'll see like, oh, it's $100, and you'll convert it, and you're like, do I really need this? I don't think I'm gonna buy it. Like I promise you're not going to buy anything if you had to convert it all the time. So that was definitely a big thing I had to adjust to. Here in the US, if you have a dog, most of the time, not all the time, but I would say out of my experience, probably 95% of the people I know do this. And you put your dog in a crate, like in a little cage, sometimes a little bigger, but it's still, they put their dogs in cages. You're not just having your dog outside. Dogs don't sleep in your room or sleep in the house. And if they do do sleep like, of course they have to sleep in the house, but they have to sleep in a cage. Or when people leave the house, like to go and run errands, to go to work, they put their dogs in cages. I hate that so much. Like, I'm so used to like our dogs just being all over the place, and we had like bigger dogs outside and we had the smaller dogs inside. No one had cages or anything. That was really something different and something I didn't really expect. I don't feel like they even really showed in movies or anything. But yeah, your dog sleeps in a cage. And then the amount of drive-throughs there are. Like, you can get a drive-through for anything. Not just like takeout, like coffee, going to a pharmacy, you have a drive-through. If you want to go to the bank, there's a drive-through, which is really convenient. And I wish like more places in South Africa had that, but I definitely wanted to put that on the list. And then of course, no load shedding. I think that's one of the things that I love the most since I moved here, that I never have to experience load shedding again. I've never had a power outage and I absolutely love it. And this is definitely something I wanted to put in this video. And again, this is my experience, but I do feel like if you live in the US, like people are such workaholics, and nothing against that. Absolutely nothing against that, but I feel like back home it was more relaxed. People didn't care about like money or work so much. Like people just try to enjoy their time, especially when they had off or on weekends. And here it's just non-stop grinding. Like you would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then on weekends as well. Unless like, of course, there's jobs that you don't have to work on the weekend, but I do feel like especially people having their own businesses, like you just work all the time. And I'm part of that. And I honestly, I came to a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore, because I will wake up at 5 a.m. and I'll be working until like 8 o'clock at night every day. Like my head was always on. And that's definitely something I want to change, especially this year. But that is definitely also something I've realized, which I find really interesting. And I must say I'm not really a fan of it. But yeah. And of course, I have to put this into the 2-day delivery from Amazon. I know we have, what is it called? Take a look now. I can't remember the South African. I'll put it on the screen. The South African stores that they have that you can like get stuff in 2 days. But I do feel like it's more expensive when you buy it on there. So I do love Amazon, and I love Amazon Prime, and that you can get stuff sometimes even the next day. So that's pretty cool and definitely something I love. And then last but not least, I wanted to put on here that I feel like people here like suing you. I feel like they would like find the excuse to sue you somehow, like the smallest little detail. I don't know if it's just because they're trying to make money out of you or what, but I do feel like a lot of people try to sue you for the smallest little thing. But this is some of the things that I've experienced. Let me know in the comments if you have moved from South Africa to America and what culture shocks you have experienced that I might have not mentioned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.